Before we begin, if you're ready for danger, obsession, and a love story that burns as hot as it bleeds, hit subscribe now. This isn't your typical romance. This is dark, dirty, deliciously twisted. One woman, one mafia don, one deal that should have ended in a night, but turned into war. Don't miss a chapter. Subscribe now and let the chaos begin.
Chapter 1. Sold. They dressed her in red, silk, slit too high and neckline too low, like she was something to unwrap instead of someone who could set the world on fire. Emilia Russo stood under the spotlight with wrists tied in gold ribbon and fire in her eyes. They wanted her to look like a gift. She felt like a bomb. Lot 47, the auctioneer announced, voice smug and too pleased. 18, virgin, one night only. A ripple of dark laughter moved through the velvet-draped room. She didn't flinch. This wasn't fear. This was fury wrapped in lipstick and heels. Her father had traded her like a pawn, thinking she'd fold, cry, beg. He forgot who raised her, or maybe he never really knew her at all. The room blurred with faceless men in suits and masks. Her pulse thrummed in her throat, but she stared straight ahead. Chin up, spine locked. They wanted a scared little girl? Too bad. She came to bite. "Starting bid? $500,000, the auctioneer called. Hands lifted. Voices followed. 750, 800, 1 million. It escalated fast. Still, she felt nothing. Number. Not because of fear, but because she wouldn't give them the satisfaction of watching her break. Then came the voice. 2 million. Low, controlled, measured like a sniper's aim. The room went dead silent. Even the auctioneer's eyebrows twitched. 2 million, he repeated, more carefully now. From Mr. DeSantis. Every spine in the room went rigid. Emilia's heart skipped a beat. Luca DeSantis. She knew the name. Everyone did. Southern Syndicate's king. The butcher in a Brioni suit. Rumors painted him with blood. Cold, calculating, untouchable. No one crossed him and lived to tell it. Why was he here? Why her? Sold. The gavel hit wood. Final. The crowd parted like the Red Sea as the man himself stood. His walk was unhurried, but every step held weight. Tall, impeccably dressed in black. No mask, no fear. His eyes met hers. No flicker, no warmth, just pure, dangerous interest. She didn't look away. She should have. She remembered the moment her father told her he'd fixed it. "Just trust me, Emmy," he'd said, eyes darting, sweaty hands twisting a rosary he hadn't touched in years. "It's all taken care of. One night. That's all. You show up, they cancel the debt." She should have known, should have heard the lies in his voice. She did, deep down, but it was either this or watching their house burn with them still inside. She didn't do it for him, she did it for her mother. Buried 2 years earlier after a stroke brought on by the constant hell her father called poker nights and business loans. Now, here she was, sold like a dress in a high-end boutique. Only difference? Dresses didn't bleed. The black SUV was waiting behind the auction hall. The door opened before she reached it. 2 men in suits waited, wordless, faceless. One of them had a small scar along his cheek. The other wore leather gloves, even in the summer heat. They didn't speak. Didn't need to. She climbed in before they could force her. Pride demanded it. She sat on the leather seat and waited. The door shut. Then came the silence. Then him. Luca DeSantis entered like a storm dressed in silk. The scent of cedar and clove hit first. Clean, expensive, dangerous. His suit was black, shirt darker, and his eyes, God help her, his eyes were quiet destruction. He sat across from her, didn't speak, didn't blink, just stared. "I hope you're not the jealous type," she said after a beat, voice steady. "I had 6 other bidders dying for a taste." His brow lifted. "You think this is a joke?" She tilted her head. "No, but if I don't laugh, I'll start stabbing." A corner of his mouth curled. Not a smile, something colder, sharper. "You've got teeth, Piccola." She leaned back. "You paid for one night, don't get clingy." His eyes narrowed. "We'll see." The ride to the estate was silent again, but it felt different now. He didn't ask questions, didn't demand answers. He simply existed beside her, like a storm cloud waiting to burst. She watched the city melt away into the woods, saw the wrought iron gates open, and the long stretch of cobblestone winding up through shadowed trees. The mansion wasn't a home, it was a palace built by a warlord. 3 stories, white stone, black glass, guards at every corner, cameras tucked under the eaves. It was beautiful the way predators were beautiful. Sleek, intimidating, merciless. The door opened. A butler said something she didn't hear. She followed. Her room was bigger than her whole apartment. Gold fixtures, deep navy walls, silk sheets. A wardrobe already stocked with clothes that looked like they cost more than her tuition. She didn't touch anything. She stood in the center, arms folded, and waited. An hour passed. Food arrived. Grilled salmon, wild rice, roasted vegetables, sparkling water. She threw the plate against the wall. That's when he came. Luca leaned in the doorway like a man who owned the building, the world, and whatever soul wandered too close. Was it not to your taste? She didn't flinch. I don't eat dinner with devils. You threw it. Alone. Maybe I prefer the sound of breaking things. He walked in. No rush, no anger, just control. You'll need more than attitude to survive here. She lifted her chin. And you'll need more than money to keep me. He stopped 2 feet away, close enough to touch, close enough to kill. He looked at her like she was a puzzle or a trap. I don't want to keep you, he said, and she blinked. I want to own the part of you no one else can touch. Her throat dried. She hated how that affected her. And what part is that? He didn't answer, just stepped closer. She didn't move. He reached up slow and tugged the ribbon off her wrists. The silk fell to the floor. You're free to leave this room, explore, eat, speak, but don't test the perimeter. Or what? Or I'll stop playing nice, she smirked. This is you being nice? He leaned in. This is me being merciful. Then he turned and walked out. She didn't follow, she didn't sleep. But for the first time since the auction, she wondered what scared her more, being his prisoner, or what might happen if she wanted to stay. Chapter 2. The morning light streaming through the tall windows was almost obscene in its warmth. Too golden, too soft for a place that reeked of quiet power and implied threats. Emilia lay on top of the bed, fully clothed, arms crossed, eyes wide open. She hadn't slept. Couldn't. Not when her brain was a minefield of what-ifs and memories she didn't want to unpack. Footsteps. Not heavy, not urgent, just deliberate. She sat up, spine stiffening as the door eased open without a knock. Luca DeSantis didn't need permission to enter anywhere, especially not a room in his own house. He was holding a coffee cup. You look like hell, he said casually, walking in like this was a Sunday brunch and not the aftermath of human trafficking. I've had better spa days, she muttered. He offered the cup. She didn't take it. What is it? She asked, eyeing it like it might explode. Coffee. She arched a brow. Drugged? He sighed. If I wanted you unconscious, you'd be out cold. Comforting. I'm not here to comfort you, Dolcezza. There it was again. That voice. Smooth as sin, threaded with gravel. She hated how it made her stomach flip. Stop calling me that. He tilted his head. Would you prefer my property? She stood up. Try Emilia. A long pause. His eyes flicked over her. Fine. Emilia. She snatched the coffee. Drank. Bitter. Strong. Real. I need clothes that don't scream escort, she said. Then don't wear them like you're advertising. She glared. He smirked. The closet he sent her to was a designer's wet dream. Black dresses, silk robes, corsets, heels in every shade of danger. Nothing comfortable, nothing soft. She dug until she found black jeans, a t-shirt, and a leather jacket. Better. Downstairs was quiet. Too quiet. The guards she passed didn't meet her eyes. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was trained. In the dining room, Luca was at the head of the table, reading something on his phone. He didn't look up. You change well, he said. Don't start undressing me with your eyes. You might pull something. That got a smile. She explored after breakfast. The place was a damn fortress. Cameras, guards, no obvious exits. She tested a side door, locked, another, alarmed. Third one? Bingo. It led to the garage, empty. except for a row of sleek black cars, one armed guard, and an office. She slipped into the office, quiet, careful. Inside, papers, keys, a desk drawer, locked. She tried to pick it with a bobby pin. A shadow fell over her. "Creative," Luca said. Her blood froze. "I was looking for the bathroom," she said coolly. He walked in, closed the door behind him. "Most bathrooms don't have Glock 19 in the top drawer." She didn't blink. "You caught me. I wanted a souvenir." He walked forward, step by step, no rush. "You think you're clever, don't you?" "I think I'm desperate." He stopped in front of her, eyes locked. "And what would you do if you found a gun?" She smiled. "Shoot the next man who calls me Dolcezza." Without warning, he stepped closer, backing her into the desk, hands still in his pockets. "You want to play dangerous?" he murmured. Her heart pounded. "You're not my type," she said. He leaned down, just enough to whisper near her ear, "Liar." He didn't kiss her, didn't touch her, just stared, then turned and walked out. "Lock the drawers next time," she called after him. His voice floated back, "Next time I won't." That night, her dreams were chaos. It started with darkness, not fear, not silence, just shadow and heat. Then a hand, large, warm, sliding slowly up her thigh. Her body didn't resist. Her mind tried to scream, but her lips parted instead. A breath at her neck. His voice, velvet and rough. "Tell me to stop." She didn't. Couldn't. She was pushed back, onto a desk, a bed. It shifted, undefined. The only thing clear was him, towering, focused, dangerous. His hand traced the curve of her hip, dragged the hem of her shirt up inch by agonizing inch. He didn't kiss her, not yet, just hovered. "You think you can handle this?" he asked against her skin. She arched up to meet him. "Try me." And then heat, tongue, teeth, the sting of control giving way to surrender. She moaned in her sleep and woke up gasping. The sheets twisted around her, her skin slick with sweat, her core aching. She sat up, face burning with shame and fury. "No," she whispered. "Hell no." She punched the pillow, screamed into it. She wasn't supposed to want him. She was supposed to survive him. Chapter 3. Emilia had always known her father was a liar. She just hadn't realized how far the betrayal went until now. The estate library was as ridiculous as everything else in the house. 2 floors of mahogany shelves, spiral stairs, a fireplace that crackled like it belonged to a gothic horror novel. Luca wasn't there. She checked, but the drawer he kept locked? That was open, carelessly. He was slipping. Inside were folders, photos, names, ledgers, and contracts. 3 of them. Signed by her father. Emilia scanned the papers with ice in her blood. Each document had her name, her age, and a dollar amount. Each was a promise to deliver her to a different man if debts weren't paid. Her stomach turned when she saw the name Scarpelli. A rival family known for their brutality. One of them had even penciled in a note, "Take the girl. Kill the father, tape it." Her lungs seized. He'd signed her away to die. Not once, not twice, 3 times, and Luca had bought her out like she was some auction house painting. She slammed the drawer shut, heart thudding. Footsteps echoed. She spun. It wasn't Luca, it was Angelo, one of his lieutenants, tall, lean, and just polished enough to look like he belonged in a high-end club instead of a mafia fortress. He had the kind of clean-cut charm that made women lower their guards and men underestimate him. Dark blonde hair, a smug curve to his lips, and a silver chain glinting just beneath his open collar. If Luca was a loaded gun, Angelo was a switchblade hidden in a smile. He leaned casually against the doorframe, eyes dragging over her like he was deciding whether she was trouble or entertainment, or both. "You shouldn't be in here," he said, voice low and smooth, like honey over broken glass. His arms folded across his chest, biceps flexing beneath the tight black fabric of his button-down. But it wasn't a threat. It was a test. A tease. His eyes slid over her in a slow, deliberate drag, lingering at her mouth for just a second too long. "Unless, of course," he added, lips curving into a slow, almost conspiratorial smirk. "You're here to see me. In that case, I can be persuaded to forget I ever saw you." Emilia's pulse kicked against her throat, but she didn't let it show. She matched his look with one of her own, bored, edged with disdain. "I was looking for something worth my time," she said coolly, stepping past the shelves like she owned the room. "You just happened to be in the way." Angelo chuckled, low and lazy. "Careful, Principessa. Keep talking to me like that, I might start to think you're flirting." She paused by the desk, fingers brushing the polished wood. "And if I were?" He pushed off the doorframe, sauntering in with a swagger that was all confidence and no urgency. "Then I'd have to warn you. Flirting with a man like me tends to end badly. Or very, very well. Depends on the mood I'm in." She gave him a slow, measured glance. "Are you always this full of yourself? Or is today special?" "Only when beautiful women break into rooms they're not supposed to be in," he said, flashing a grin that was equal parts charm and warning. But underneath the playfulness was something sharper, a flicker of suspicion. He might have been flirting, but he wasn't stupid. "I was looking for a book." "You're not supposed to be alone." Emilia raised a brow. "Why? Afraid I'll trip and fall into a secret?" His eyes narrowed. "Don't test me." She stepped forward. "Or what? You'll run and tell Daddy Don?" "Watch your mouth, Russo." That name, her father's name, it hit like a slap. Before she could respond, another voice cut through the tension. "She answers to me." Luca, standing in the doorway, calm and cold. Angelo straightened instantly. "Boss?" Luca didn't raise his voice. "Out." Angelo hesitated, then walked past Emilia with a sneer. She didn't watch him leave. She stared at Luca. "You knew?" she said. He nodded. "I did." "You knew what he signed me into?" "Yes." "And you let it happen?" "I stopped it." She walked toward him, trembling with fury. "You bought me like a dog at a fighting ring." "No," he said softly. "I bought you so no one else could." That stopped her, not because it was romantic, because it was true. "You think that makes you better?" she whispered. He didn't blink. "No, I know what I am." The silence stretched. Then he said, "Come with me." The hallway was lined with guards, silent, watching. She followed Luca down a corridor she hadn't seen before, toward a set of reinforced doors. Inside was a soundproofed room, concrete floor, metal walls, and in the center, tied to a chair, her father, bloody, beaten, alive. Her knees went weak. "What?" Her voice cracked. "Why is he here?" "He came crawling to the Scarpellis yesterday, begging for another deal. They laughed. Then they called me." She swallowed. "You brought him here to kill him?" "No." She turned to him. "You did." "No," Luca said again. "You did." She stared. "He signed your death. 3 times. You want him gone? Say the word." Her head spun. "You expect me to decide that?" "I expect you to understand the cost of mercy." She looked at her father, pathetic, weak, whimpering. "Emilia," he croaked. "Baby, please, I didn't mean—" She slapped him, hard. Luca didn't flinch. "I should leave him," she whispered. "You could," Luca agreed, "but if he walks out of here, he'll sell you again. Or worse." She turned her back. "I don't want to be like you." He stepped beside her. "You already are." She didn't answer, but she didn't say no. That night, she didn't cry. She didn't sleep. Luca brought her whiskey. She took it. They sat in silence, 2 monsters made of fire and guilt. Finally, she said, "What would you have done if I let him go?" "Handled it." She looked at him. "Why did you really buy me?" He met her eyes. "Because when I saw you on that stage, you weren't crying. You were burning." She exhaled. Then she whispered, "I don't want to belong to anyone." Luca leaned closer. "Then don't. But you'll still be mine."
Chapter 4. The rain came in hard and fast, sheets of water hammering the roof like bullets, wind howling around the estate as if it were trying to break its way inside. Emilia stood barefoot on the balcony, letting the storm soak through her thin black t-shirt, her arms folded tight against the cold. It wasn't smart. It wasn't safe. But out here in the chaos, she could think. She could feel something real. Behind her, the bedroom was too still, a palace built from quiet threats. She hadn't slept since the night her father was dragged into that soundproof room, since Luca had made her choose, and she still didn't know if she regretted what she'd done, or the things she'd let herself feel since. The sliding door opened behind her. She didn't turn. "You're going to catch something standing out here," Luca said, his voice low and unreadable. "Better a cold than cabin fever," she replied, still staring out at the dark line of trees that surrounded the property. A beat of silence passed. Then, footsteps. He came to stand beside her, the storm whipping his shirt open at the collar, rain clinging to the fabric like second skin. "I thought you liked control," she said, eyes fixed ahead. "You don't strike me as a let-it-rain kind of guy." He looked at her. "Some things can't be controlled. Weather, fire, you." She turned, slowly. Her hair clung to her skin. Water beaded on her lips. "I'm not yours to control." Luca stepped in, close enough that the heat of his body cut through the cold. "No," he said, voice dropping an octave, "but I'd kill for the illusion." Lightning cracked overhead. She didn't flinch. "Say it," she challenged. "What do you want from me, Luca?" His eyes burned into hers. "Everything!" She surged forward, and he caught her. Their lips met in a kiss that was all teeth and desperation. Rain poured around them, soaking skin and clothes, but they didn't care. His hands found her waist, then her back, then her jaw, holding her like he could anchor himself to her mouth. She kissed him like she wanted to punish him for making her want him. Fingers dug into his shirt, pulling him closer until there was no space left. When he broke away, it was only to catch his breath. "You should go inside," he said, forehead pressed to hers, "before I forget every promise I made myself." She didn't move. "I'm not going anywhere." His mouth crashed into hers again, this time slower, deeper, and when his hand slid beneath the hem of her shirt, she let it. Let him. Because she was already his. Not because he bought her. Because he saw her and didn't blink. They ended up in her room, wet clothes stripped and forgotten, skin on skin. He didn't rush, didn't command. He listened to every sound she made, answered every plea she never voiced. And when it was over, when she lay tangled in silk sheets with his arms around her waist, she realized she wasn't afraid. She was addicted. The next morning, thunder was gone, but something worse had taken its place. Yelling downstairs, running feet, the sound of guns being drawn. Luca was already up, shirtless, pulling on his pants. "What's happening?" she asked, sitting up. He grabbed a pistol from the nightstand and tossed it to her. She caught it. Their eyes met. "You know how to use it?" he asked. "Yes." "Good. Stay behind me." They moved through the house like wolves, quiet, coordinated, bodies in motion. His men were already posted, but something was wrong. She could feel it. At the stairs, the first shot rang out. One of the guards dropped. Then everything turned red. It was over fast. 4 bodies on the floor. One of them still breathing. Luca didn't hesitate. He aimed and pulled the trigger. Emilia didn't look away. Blood sprayed across the marble. He turned to her, saw the smudge of red on her cheek. "You okay?" She nodded, but her hand trembled. He walked to her, took the gun gently from her fingers, replaced it with his hand. "Now you understand," he said softly, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "What it means to survive in my world." She looked at him, this man who had kissed her like a sinner, fought like a god, and handed her a weapon without blinking. And she finally understood what she'd become. His, but not owned. Chosen. Because she burned for him, and he would burn the world for her. Chapter 5. Emilia didn't dream that night. Not because she was calm, not because she felt safe, but because the adrenaline had burned through her bloodstream like acid, searing her too raw for rest. She lay tangled in black silk sheets, Luca's scent still on her skin, her hand inches from the gun he'd placed on the nightstand like a dark promise. She replayed everything in her mind. The way he kissed her in the rain, the way he looked at her after the bloodbath, like he saw all of her and didn't flinch. It terrified her. It thrilled her. She didn't know which scared her more. By late morning, the mansion was still, but not quiet. The silence buzzed, heavy with tension. Downstairs, Luca moved like a shadow. No suit today, just black slacks, a holstered Glock under one arm, and his sleeves rolled high on his forearms. Commanding, sharp, wired. She found him in the war room, the real one, hidden behind a panel in his office wall. He didn't turn when she entered. "I didn't think you'd still be here," he said, voice low. "You expected me to run?" "I expected you to be smart?" "I am." Now he looked at her. "You're bleeding into something you can't get out of." She walked to the table where blueprints and surveillance photos were spread like a chessboard. "I'm already in it," she said. "You pulled me in the second you bid on me." His eyes flickered. "I didn't bid for this." "But you did bid for me." Silence, thick and cracking. Finally, he pushed a folder toward her. "Dominic Scarpelli," he said. "Second lieutenant. Smart, impulsive, thinks with his dick. He was behind the hit. We confirmed it last night." She opened the folder. A photo of a man in a sharp suit, lounging in a club booth with two women draped across him. Her lip curled. "Charming." "He's cocky enough to think we won't retaliate, which makes him vulnerable. And you want me to use that?" He didn't deny it. "He'll be at Club Vanta tonight. That's his territory. We spook him, he runs back to Scarpelli's inner circle. We follow the rat back to the nest." Emilia glanced up. "So I play bait?" "No," Luca said, stepping closer. "You play queen. Walk in like you own the place. Make him crawl." Her pulse kicked up. "You trust me to handle this?" He didn't blink. "I trust you to make him underestimate you." She smirked. "Then let's go make a man sweat." Club Vanta wasn't just a club. It was a theater of vice, lasers, smoke, sweat, desire. Bodies moved in time to pulsing bass, the air laced with perfume, cologne, and sin. Emilia descended the stairs like a goddess. Tight black dress, red heels, hair sleek and pinned high. Every inch calculated. Eyes followed her. She let them. Dominic noticed her halfway through his second drink. He was surrounded by lackeys, sipping something amber with too much ice. Gold chains, loud laugh, expensive watch. "New face?" he said, standing. "Let me guess. You got lost on your way to heaven?" She smiled. "More like I got bored on the way." He laughed, arrogant, pleased with himself. They talked, flirted. She touched his hand once, then again. Every brush was calculated. By the time he leaned in to whisper something obscene, her fingers had already found the burner phone in his coat pocket. She kissed his cheek. "Thanks for the drink," and walked away, leaving him blinking. Luca was waiting outside in a matte black SUV, watching her through the scope of a rooftop sniper rifle. He lowered it when she exited the club. "Was he drooling?" he asked. She tossed the phone into his lap. Unlocked, full contact list, GPS still hot. Luca's jaw ticked. "You did good." She leaned back in the seat. "You sound surprised." "I'm not." "I'm pissed at how much I liked watching you work him." She turned her head. "Jealousy doesn't suit you, Dawn." He reached for her, dragged her into his lap. "You think that was jealousy?" he murmured, kissing the corner of her mouth. That was restraint. She kissed him back, hard. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't patient. It was war. He pushed her against the door, hands in her hair, her dress riding up, his mouth devouring hers. Her fingers clawed at his shirt, pulled, tore a button. And then, glass shattered, gunfire. The car rocked. Luca shoved her to the floorboards, shielding her body with his. "Stay down!" More shots. Tires screeched outside. His men opened fire. She crawled to the door, yanked it open, grabbed Luca's second weapon from the floor of the SUV. He looked at her. She was barefoot, bloody, furious, and aiming. She fired. 3 shots, 1 scream, then silence. Back at the estate, Luca stitched a graze on her arm with shaking fingers. "You should have stayed down," she hissed. "I wasn't going to let you get shot in front of me." His mouth crushed hers before she could say more. Hot, possessive, grateful, he kissed her like she'd saved his life. Because she had. He pulled back, breathless. "I'll kill them all," he said. "Every last one." She met his eyes. "Not without me." Chapter 6. The air between them was different now. Not just heavy with want. It was thick with inevitability. Like gravity had tilted, and they were both falling into something that didn't have rules or safety nets. Luca had seen Emilia with a gun, seen her bleed, fight, survive, and she'd seen him unravel, not on the battlefield, but in the quiet moments after, in the way his hands shook when he thought no one was watching, in the way he looked at her like she was the first thing he couldn't control, and it was driving them both mad. 3 nights after the attempted hit, the compound was calm, tense, guarded, but quiet. Too quiet. Luca sat in his private lounge, a glass of whiskey untouched on the table beside him. The fire cast shadows across his sharp cheekbones and the thin scar at his jawline. He didn't hear Emilia come in. He felt her. "You're brooding," she said. "I'm thinking." Dangerous habit. He looked at her. "You should be asleep." "So should you." Silence stretched. Then she walked to him, barefoot, wearing one of his shirts. The hem hit her mid-thigh. Her legs were bare, her hair a mess, and she'd never looked more lethal. "You're going to be the death of me," he muttered. She straddled him. "I better be worth the funeral." The first time they touched like that, without rain, without blood, without the world exploding around them, it was slow, a build. She kissed him like she was testing a weapon. He touched her like she might vanish. Every movement had teeth. His shirt slid off first. Her fingers mapped every inch of his chest, every scar. He didn't flinch. He let her look, let her see everything. Her lips followed, tracing lines over the burns, the bullet graze near his ribs, the old knife wound near his hip. "Do they hurt?" she asked. "Not when you touch them." He unbuttoned her slowly, reverently, not like he was undressing her, like he was peeling back armor. 1,000 little defenses. When she whispered, "Show me everything," he obeyed, because he always would. They didn't rush, they destroyed. Luca was dominant, but attentive. Every gasp, every moan, every roll of her hips, he learned her like a language he hadn't spoken in years. He kissed her like he was starving, held her like he was drowning, and when she pushed back, harder, sharper, bolder, he let her. Emilia was fire, bold, demanding, untamed. She didn't just take what she wanted, she made him give it. She kissed him hard, bit his shoulder, dragged her nails down his back. And when he pressed her down, hands locked with hers above her head, she arched into him like she wanted to be consumed. It was not soft, it was earned, and when they came undone, it was a detonation, a flash fire, a breaking point. The room never recovered. Neither did they. Later, wrapped in sweat and sheets and silence, he held her like a man desperate to believe something could be his. "Say something," he whispered. She turned her head to look at him, brushed his hair from his brow. "I still hate you." His mouth twitched. "Good." She kissed his jaw. "But I think I might hate you a little less when you're inside me." He growled and flipped her back beneath him. And just like that, it started again. This time rougher, slower, deeper. When dawn broke, they were still tangled, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing the line of her spine. She should have felt trapped. Instead, she felt known. The calm didn't last. By noon, a call came in. One of Luca's allies, someone close, had flipped. A warehouse in East Side burned to ash. No survivors, no crates. Just a wall, blackened and half collapsed, with a message painted in blood. "The girl dies next." Luca didn't speak for a long time after reading it. Then he turned to Emilia. "You're not leaving my side." "I wasn't planning to." He cupped her face, his voice like thunder. "This isn't obsession anymore." She looked him dead in the eyes. "I know." Chapter 7. The estate was under lockdown. Security had tripled. Armed guards roamed the perimeter like restless ghosts. Cameras panned every angle. Spotlights cut through the night, and the walls hummed with tension. But inside the storm, Emilia moved like lightning. She wasn't afraid, not anymore. Someone had painted a target on her back. Someone wanted her silenced, removed, erased. And they were about to learn Emilia Romano wasn't a pawn. She was the fucking queen. Luca's war room looked like a crime scene waiting to happen. Maps littered the table, dotted with red pins and streaked lines tracing enemy routes. Intelligence reports glowed on monitors, names, faces, timetables, each one a threat. He paced, hands curled into fists, rage simmering beneath the surface. Emilia leaned in the doorway, silent, watching. "You need to let me help," she said finally. Luca didn't even look up. "No," her voice sharpened. "I'm not asking. I'm telling you, I'm in this now." "Exactly why I said no," he snapped. "You're in this now. Which means you don't get the luxury of being reckless. You're being reckless by keeping me in the dark. You said you'd teach me to survive in your world. That doesn't mean sheltering me like I'm fragile. I've already lost too many people." "I'm not adding you to that list." Emilia stepped forward, the fire in her chest threatening to blow wide open. "You can't protect me by locking me up." "That's not strength. That's fear." Luca's jaw clenched. "I would burn this city to keep you alive." She didn't flinch. "Then teach me to burn with you." He stared at her, nostrils flared, chest rising and falling like a man teetering on the edge of losing control. Without a word, he reached into a drawer, pulled out a gleaming combat knife, and slammed it onto the table. "Pick it up." Her fingers closed around the handle. It was cold, heavy, real. "So what now?" she asked. "You teach me to kill?" Luca stepped close. His voice dropped to a growl. "No, I teach you not to die." Training was brutal. Every morning before the sun rose, she met Luca in the gym. No flirtation, no soft touches. He was steel, precision, relentless. He disarmed her 5 times before breakfast. He knocked her flat on her back with a shoulder roll and didn't apologize when she hit the mat hard enough to bruise. "Get up," he said. Emilia groaned. "You don't even check if I'm okay anymore?" He handed her a towel. "No, because you are. You're tougher than you look." She grinned through the pain. "Careful." That almost sounded like a compliment. He smirked. "Don't get used to it." By the 3rd week, she was holding her own. "You fight like someone who's already died," he said one day, watching her take down a practice dummy with a brutal elbow. "Maybe I have." He didn't ask what she meant. He just tossed her another blade. That night, they came together like fire and gunpowder. Luca backed her against the training mats, hands gripping her thighs, lifting her, pinning her to the wall. His mouth found hers, hungry and bruising. Her fingers tore at his shirt, nails raking down his chest. There was nothing soft between them, no pretense, no performance, just hunger. She bit his bottom lip. He growled, flipped her to the ground, hands holding her down as he kissed her like she was his salvation and his sin. When she came apart under him, nails digging into his back, his name on her lips, it wasn't just lust. It was war, and she won. The next day broke with false peace. The sky was overcast, the air heavy. Emilia stepped outside for a breath of fresh air. Alone. Her guards were close, but not close enough. 2 men in black stepped from behind the hedges. "Ma'am," one said smoothly, "the Don requested your presence." She frowned. "Funny, he usually sends people I recognize." They hesitated. That was all she needed. She turned on her heel, but too late. One grabbed her wrist. She twisted, slammed her elbow into his jaw, and ducked low. The other lunged for her with a syringe. She kicked him hard in the knee. He staggered. She grabbed the heel of her shoe, yanked it off, and drove the stiletto into his thigh. He screamed. Blood sprayed. The syringe clattered to the stone path. The first attacker recovered, swinging wildly. She blocked with her forearm, slammed her palm into his nose. He dropped. A third man appeared with a gun. Too fast. She braced for the shot. It never came. Down! Luca's roar split the air. Gunfire exploded. The shooter fell, a bullet through his eye. The others scrambled. Luca charged through the garden like an executioner, putting 2 more rounds in the man with the syringe. When it was over, Luca dropped beside her, hands everywhere checking for wounds. "I'm fine," she said, breathless. He pulled her against his chest. She felt his heart pounding, hard, desperate. "You could have died," he whispered into her hair. "But I didn't." He pulled back, cradling her face in his hands. "You're not a pet," he said hoarsely. "You're my fucking queen." Her mouth crashed into his, and just like that, everything else disappeared. That night, the family council met. 12 Mafia bosses, 12 egos, 12 agendas. Emilia sat beside Luca at the head of the long marble table. Her black dress was sharp as a blade, her heels unapologetic, her eyes didn't waver. They all stared. Some with disgust, some with amusement, 1 or 2 with open hunger. "She doesn't belong here," Don Carmine growled. "She's a liability." "She's mine," Luca replied calmly. "She's a distraction. And distractions get people killed." Another boss, grizzled and cold, leaned forward. "You want peace, Luca? Get rid of her." Emilia smiled. "Funny, I was just thinking the same about you." Several men chuckled. Others froze. Luca didn't blink. "She speaks for herself," he said. A younger Don, handsome, snake-like, tilted his head. "Then let's make her useful. I propose an alliance. My men support your next move. In return, she spends 1 night in my bed." Chairs scraped. Luca stood, gun drawn. "Say that again." The Don smirked. "You'd start a war over a woman?" "No," Emilia said, rising. She walked around the table, heels echoing in the chamber. "I'd end one." She stopped beside the Don, leaned in. "Call me a whore again." He sneered. "Whore." Her knee rocketed into his groin. He collapsed. She turned to the room. "I am not a pawn. I'm not a prize. I'm not leverage. I'm the woman who will slit your throat in your sleep if you touch what's mine." Silence. Then, Luca laughed, low, dark, proud. In the car after, he reached for her hand. "You scared them," he said. "Good. You scared me." She glanced at him. "I'm done being scared. If I have to wear a crown to survive this, then so be it, but I will not be anyone's pawn." He brought her hand to his lips. "You never were." Chapter 8. It started with silence. Not the peaceful kind, the dangerous kind, the kind that comes before the blast, the kind that wraps around your spine like a warning before it ever touches your skin. Emilia stood by the floor-to-ceiling glass window in Luca's study, her fingers curled around the edge of the drape. Her eyes narrowed on the shadows moving along the perimeter wall. The night was thick, dense with unease. The kind of night where even the guards walked slower, where even the wind seemed to hesitate. Something was wrong. She didn't have the facts, no proof, no clear red flags, just instinct. A prickling at the base of her neck, a whisper in her bones. Down the hall, voices murmured low. Luca was deep in conversation with Marco, his second in command, the man Luca trusted more than anyone else in his empire. They stood near the hearth in the formal lounge, flanked by 2 armed guards, shoulders tense, faces tight. Emilia kept to the shadows, half behind a curtain, invisible but listening. The shipment was rerouted. Again, Marco said. His voice was rough but steady, controlled. "That's the 3rd time this month," Luca answered, colder. The GPS logs show the trucks turned south 20 minutes before the ambush. No warning, no panic button, no guards alerted us. Luca's silence was more telling than a scream. It's an inside leak, Marco added. Has to be. Luca didn't argue, and that's what made Emilia's stomach twist, because Luca always argued. If he didn't now, it meant he already knew. Deep down, something was rotting from within. After the meeting ended and Marco walked out, Emilia stepped into the lounge without waiting for an invitation. Luca turned slowly, his expression tight with the strain he always tried to hide from her, but never quite managed to. You heard? I heard enough, she said, folding her arms. Enough to know you're not being paranoid. Luca sighed and walked toward the window, his silhouette sharp in the low amber light of the fireplace. I hate this, he murmured. The suspicion, the shadows inside the walls. You've run this empire long enough to know betrayal always comes from close range. I thought Marco was family, he said, almost to himself. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. He turned his gaze to her, the weight of 1,000 buried emotions behind his eyes. If it's him, then you already know what you have to do, she said firmly, and you don't need to ask me for permission to do it. His jaw flexed, the truth he didn't want to face sinking in deeper. We're setting a trap, he said finally, leaking a fake root, watching who bites. I want in, Emilia said immediately. Luca arched a brow. Emmy! No, she cut in, voice hard. Don't Emmy me. You said I'm your queen. Start treating me like one. Silence stretched between them like a drawn blade. And then he nodded. The plan was crafted like a perfect lie. A false intel packet created with real details, truck manifests, shipment times, guard rotations. Real enough to pass, real enough to tempt. Emilia was the one who handed the data off, to Carlo. She had suspected him for days. He was too quiet, too convenient, always hovering in corners, always present, but never truly seen. She watched his eyes as he accepted the packet. Too calm, like he already knew what it was. Less than 12 hours later, the fake convoy was ambushed, exactly as planned. But Carlo didn't come back. He vanished without a trace. 2 days passed. When they found him, he was half dead in an alley on the outskirts of the city. Bloodied, broken, tortured, barely breathing. But he spoke one name before he died. Marco. Luca didn't rage, didn't scream, didn't curse. He just left the room. Emilia followed. She found him in the old wine cellar, standing motionless in the center of the room. Bottles lined the walls, silent witnesses to the devastation written in his posture. I should have seen it, he said without turning. He was at my table. My right hand. I trusted him with my life. I know, she said softly. I've known him since I was 15. We bled together. We buried people together. And he sold you out. He finally looked at her. His voice cracked. How do I fix this? Emilia stepped closer, took his hand. You don't fix betrayal. You survive it. His fingers curled around hers. You see everything, don't you? He asked. I have to. Why? Because I didn't see it coming when my father gave me away. Because I missed the signs when my life was ripped out from under me, and I swore, never again. Luca let out a breath that sounded like it scraped his lungs raw. Why did you stay? Emilia didn't answer right away. She reached up, pressed his hand to her chest, where her heart beat strong and steady beneath his palm. Because I saw something in you, she whispered. Something dark, yes, but something honest, something real. You didn't try to hide your monster. You let me see it, and I'd rather be with a man who shows me the monster than one who pretends to be a saint. His lips were on hers a second later, and this time the kiss wasn't soft. It was feral, consuming. They crashed together like colliding storms. He tore her shirt over her head, and she ripped his belt open with trembling hands. She jumped into his arms, and he caught her with ease, pinning her to the stone wall with a low growl. He kissed down her throat, over her collarbone, across the swell of her breasts. She moaned his name like a promise. He groaned hers like a prayer. Every inch of skin, every breath, every tangled gasp. It wasn't just passion. It was grief, rage, need, everything they couldn't say, spoken in sweat and skin. When they finally came apart, bodies slick and breaths uneven, Luca didn't move. He just held her and whispered, "I don't want your forgiveness." "You don't need it." "I don't want your loyalty." "You have more than that." He looked into her eyes. "I don't want your help." She smiled. "But you'll take it anyway." The war had changed shape, and so had they. Later that night, Emilia sat alone in Luca's surveillance room, reviewing footage from the last 6 weeks. Her eyes burned from staring at screens. But then, she saw it. A single frame. A figure in a hoodie, approaching a parked car in the side garage, handing off a burner phone. The recipient? One of Luca's oldest guards, a man who had been standing post since the day she arrived. Her breath caught. She grabbed her phone, called Luca. When he answered, she said only one word. "Another one." The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. Chapter 9. The rain came down in torrents the night Emilia was taken. It wasn't the soft kind that kissed the windows. It was brutal, violent. Thunder rolled across the sky like cannon fire. Lightning forked across the clouds, tearing them open as if the heavens were angry too. Luca should have known. He should have felt it in his bones. And maybe he had. Maybe that sick twist in his gut, that restless pacing, that pounding headache. Maybe that was his body screaming what his pride refused to hear. He thought they had more time. He was wrong. It happened in the garden, a place she loved, a place he'd foolishly thought was safe. Emilia had gone out for a few minutes of air, barefoot on the wet grass, her silk robe trailing behind her like spilled ink. She liked the storms, said they reminded her the world could be wild and beautiful and cruel all at once. The guards were close, always close, but not close enough. She was gone in under 60 seconds. No witnesses, no sound. Just a shattered teacup on the stone path and a single drop of blood on a pale white rose. When Luca found it, he fell to his knees. He became unrecognizable, not to his men, to himself. He tore through the estate like a hurricane in a suit. No one escaped his wrath, not even the guards who had trained with him for years. Faces he'd trusted were dragged into interrogation rooms. Servants were pulled from their beds. Walls shook from his fury. "Find her!" he roared, his voice raw and ragged, fists bloodied from punching through drywall. "I want names! I want locations! I want heads on the floor!" His command chain fractured under his rage. Orders were barked, guns were loaded, engines revved. War had begun. She woke in darkness. Concrete walls, mold-slicked bricks, rusted chains at her wrists. Her skin was scraped, her lip split, but she was alive. Her breath was steady. Her eyes were clear. Pain didn't scare her. She'd lived through worse. But the silence, it was too perfect. This was planned, precise, meant to shake her. It didn't. Footsteps echoed, and then he appeared. The rival Dawn, silver hair, crisp suit, blue eyes like glacier ice. The same bastard who'd once offered to buy her for a night like a slab of meat. "You should have taken my deal," he said, his voice smooth. "Would have been easier for both of us." She spat blood. "You think easier is something I've ever cared about?" He chuckled. Feisty. "That's why he likes you. But that fire won't save you now." He crouched in front of her, fingers brushing her cheek. She didn't flinch. "You know what's coming," he murmured. "He'll burn half the city to find you. And when he does, he'll walk into my trap." She smiled, a slow, terrifying curl of her lips. "You don't get it," she said. "You think I'm the weak spot. But I'm the fuse." Luca didn't sleep. Didn't eat, didn't stop. Every contact was activated, every ally called in. The underworld trembled under his fury. He took no prisoners. Anyone with ties to the rival Dawn was marked. Warehouses burned, safe houses were stormed, men died screaming. And still, no Emilia. He saw her face in every room he entered, heard her voice in the silence after the gunshots, smelled her perfume in his own bed like it haunted the sheets. He was unraveling, and he didn't care. On the third day, one of his teams brought in a courier, barely breathing, teeth missing, legs shattered. A burner phone duct-taped to his chest. They ripped it off. It rang once. Luca answered. "Tell me," said the rival Dawn's voice, calm and amused. "How much is she worth to you?" Luca's grip tightened until the plastic cracked. "Everything." The rescue wasn't a rescue, it was a slaughter. Luca led the charge himself, black suit, black gloves, black heart. He moved like vengeance incarnate. His men stormed the compound from all sides. Explosives rocked the foundation. Gunfire lit the night like strobe lights. The rival soldiers never had a chance. Luca moved through the hallways with 2 guns and no mercy. He didn't stop, didn't speak. He killed like a man possessed. He found her in a locked room at the end of the south wing, shackled, bruised, eyes wide but alive. When their eyes met, everything stopped. Time, sound, breathing. Then she smiled, a cracked, defiant thing. "Took you long enough." He was on his knees in front of her in seconds, breaking the chains, gathering her into his arms, kissing her face, her wrists, her hair, over and over again. "I'm here," he whispered. "I've got you, Dolcezza. I've got you." She gripped his collar. "I knew you'd come. I'd have torn the world apart if I had to." "You kinda did." Back at the estate, everything blurred. Doctors, hot water, blankets, painkillers. Emilia didn't speak for hours. She just sat in his bed, wrapped in his shirt, staring at the fire. Luca sat across from her, hands bandaged, knuckles raw. "I told you not to fall in love with me," she said eventually. He laughed softly, bitter. "I didn't fall," he said. "I jumped." She turned to him slowly. "Do you regret it?" "No." "Even after all this?" "Especially after all this." She crawled across the bed, straddled his lap, and cupped his jaw. "You don't have to protect me from this life," she whispered. "I'm not fragile. I chose this. I chose you. I would have burned the whole fucking world if they'd hurt you. They didn't break me. You taught me how to survive." He swallowed hard. "I wanted to keep you safe. You made me strong." Their lips met like a match meeting gasoline. The kiss was desperate, bruised, real. Their clothes came off in frantic tugs and sharp gasps. She bit his neck. He gripped her hips like she was the only real thing in the world. They made love like they were dying, like every second mattered, like the past had to be erased and the future could only be written with their bodies. He whispered her name like a prayer. She screamed his like a promise. And when it was done, she curled against his chest, one hand tracing the scar just beneath his heart. "I'll never belong to anyone," she murmured. His fingers threaded through her hair. "No," he said, voice hoarse. "But you're mine anyway." Chapter 10. The council hall was carved from stone and soaked in blood. Ancient, echoing and cold as a crypt, it had seen centuries of betrayals, deals, executions, and uneasy alliances. 12 high-backed chairs circled a round marble table at its center, each one occupied by a Dawn whose word could end cities. Power didn't whisper in this room. It snarled. And tonight, it circled Luca like a pack of wolves waiting for him to bleed. He stood in the center of the circle in a tailored black suit, not a single wrinkle out of place. But the rage in his eyes didn't hide. It burned, controlled, deadly. At his side stood Emilia. No crown, no gown, no apologies. She wore black slacks that hugged her hips like armor, a fitted military-style jacket. Her boots clicked with every step like a war drum. The bruises on her wrists peeked from under her sleeves, and the scar on her collarbone was uncovered. Visible by choice, not accident. She didn't look like royalty. She looked like vengeance that had learned to walk. And when she met the stares of 12 Mafia kings, she didn't flinch. She met power with steel. Don Carmine was the first to speak, his voice like old leather soaked in whiskey. "You've broken protocol, Luca. You waged war without approval. You struck at another house without a council vote." Luca didn't blink. "He kidnapped what's mine. She's not part of this world." "She's the only reason I'm still breathing." An older Don to the left leaned forward, his rings glinting like claws. "You lost men. You cost us blood and business. You risked all our necks for a woman." Luca's eyes sharpened. "She's not a woman. She's the woman. You put her above the family." Before Luca could answer, Emilia stepped forward. One step. The room stilled. "I am family," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the stone like a blade. 12 heads turned. She didn't shrink, didn't defer. She owned the silence. "I was sold by a man who shared my blood," she said. "Traded like a pawn to cover his own debts. I was dragged into your world. But I didn't break. I didn't run. I didn't die." Her voice grew sharper. "I adapted. I learned. And I earned my place at his side. Not because he claimed me, but because I earned the right to stand. Not behind him. Beside him." Don Carmine scoffed. "Big words for someone who's not a made man." "I don't need to be made," she shot back. "I remade myself." He bared his teeth. "You don't get a seat at this table." "I don't need a seat," she said, eyes gleaming. "I'll build my own fucking table and let you beg for a chair." A few of the younger Dons laughed. But it wasn't mockery. It was curiosity, interest, danger. One of them leaned forward. "You think you can play this game?" "I don't play," she said. "I win." And then she reached into her jacket. Half the room reached for weapons. But she didn't pull steel. She pulled power. A flash drive. I hacked into the rival Don's comms before I was taken. Surveillance logs, secret meeting records, bank transfers, shipment logs. The works. She placed it gently on the marble table. "I didn't just survive. I took receipts." A Don plugged it into a tablet. The color drained from his face as he scrolled. "This," he muttered. "This implicates half the New York syndicates." 4 of them, Emilia corrected. "So far." Another Don whistled. "You're sitting on a bomb. I'm holding a detonator." "And you're giving this to us?" "I'm giving you a choice." The room went deathly quiet. "I'm not here for permission," Emilia said, voice hard. "I'm here to remind you that I'm not going anywhere. You can call me a distraction, a threat, a liability, but you don't get to erase me." She took another step forward. "So, either start seeing me as an ally, or brace for what happens if you make me your enemy." The silence that followed wasn't disrespect. It was awe. When they left the chamber, the heavy doors slammed shut behind them. The hallway was stone, shadowed, and lined with centuries of blood. "You scared them," Luca said. "I scare you," she replied, not missing a beat. He chuckled. "You do," he admitted, "and I like it." That night they stood on the balcony of his penthouse. Below them, the city pulsed with light and danger. Behind them, their empire waited, cracked but unbroken. Emilia leaned on the railing, hair loose, eyes sharp. "They'll never forget what happened today." "They'd be stupid to try." He looked at her. "You were never a pawn, Emilia." She turned to face him, silhouetted in moonlight. "I wasn't sold, Luca." He brushed his thumb over her cheek. "I know." She stepped into him, eyes locked, voice low. "I was reborn." And she kissed him, hard, like a woman who had seized her kingdom. Because she had. The end. Subscribe if you want a part 2 of their story.